The noise hits you first. Before you even enter Manchester, you hear it. A mechanical roar rising from thousands of looms working simultaneously, a sound so constant and overwhelming that it becomes the city's heartbeat. Welcome to Manchester in 1850, Cottonopolis, the world's first industrial city. With over 300,000 people crammed into smoke-blackened streets, this is where raw cotton from American slave plantations becomes the cloth that dresses the world. 87 massive mills dominate the skyline, their chimneys pumping coal smoke that turns day into twilight. The River Irwell runs colors no river should be, red one day, blue the next, depending on which dye works are operating. This is capitalism in its rawest form, where fortunes are made and lives consumed, where innovation and exploitation exist side by side. Today, advanced AI technology allows us to transform factory records, workers' testimonies, and contemporary photographs into photorealistic recreations, bringing this lost industrial world back to life. Join me as we step into Manchester in the 1850s, explore the mills where cotton becomes cloth, experience the lives of those who powered Britain's industrial supremacy, and discover why this city became both a marvel and a warning to the world. Cottonopolis, the world's factory. Stand on the railway platform arriving at Manchester, Victoria in 1855 and witness something unprecedented in human history. Before you stretches a city transformed entirely by a single industry. Cotton mills rise like fortresses, multi-story brick buildings with hundreds of windows, each floor packed with machinery. Their chimneys soar 200 feet high, competing to expel smoke that hangs over the city in a permanent pall. The statistics are staggering. Manchester and its surrounding towns contain over 2,000 cotton factories. These mills house more than 20 million spindles turning cotton fiber into thread, and hundreds of thousands of looms weaving that thread into cloth. The city processes cotton from across the American South. The connection between Manchester's mills and slavery's expansion is direct and brutal. Every bale arriving at the warehouses represents enslaved labor in Georgia or Mississippi, transformed here into profit. Watch the streets and see the system in motion. Canals cut through the city, bringing coal from nearby mines to feed the insatiable furnaces. The Bridgewater Canal, completed in 1761, made Manchester viable by providing cheap coal transport. Now, railways augment the canals. The Liverpool and Manchester Railway, opened in 1830, was the world's first intercity passenger railway, specifically built to move cotton from Liverpool's docks to Manchester's mills. The river systems are utterly transformed. The Irwell and its tributaries, once clear streams supporting fish and providing drinking water, now run thick with industrial waste. Dye works, bleaching plants, and chemical factories dump effluent directly into the water. The rivers actually change color, bright blues, reds, yellows, depending on what's being processed that day. The smell is indescribable, a chemical stench mixing with coal smoke and organic decay. Inside the mills, the machine age. Enter one of Manchester's great mills at 6 a.m. and experience the Industrial Revolution firsthand. The building is 6 stories high, each floor an enormous room, perhaps 300 feet long and 50 feet wide, packed with machinery. The noise is physically painful. Thousands of spindles whirring, looms clattering, leather belts slapping overhead, workers shouting to be heard. The power comes from a massive steam engine in the basement. Its 300 horsepower output transmitted throughout the building by an elaborate system of belts and shafts. Watch the ceiling and see thick leather belts running the length of each floor, powered by a central shaft turned by the engine below. Individual machines connect to these belts, drawing power as needed. It's an engineering marvel, but also incredibly dangerous. Workers caught in the belts are crushed or torn apart. The spinning rooms occupy the upper floors. Here, raw cotton becomes thread through mechanical processes that replaced hand spinning. The cotton arrives in compressed bales, is cleaned and carted by machines that align the fibers, then fed into spinning mules or throstles that twist it into thread. The machinery is tended primarily by women and children. Their nimble fingers can tie broken threads quickly. Their small size lets them reach under machines to clear blockages. The air is thick with cotton dust, creating a visible haze. The dust gets everywhere, in your lungs, your hair, your clothes. Workers develop cotton lung or bisonosis, a chronic respiratory disease that progressively destroys breathing capacity. There's no ventilation. The windows are kept shut to maintain humidity that prevents threads from breaking. The temperature is kept deliberately high, often 80 degrees Fahrenheit or more, adding heat exhaustion to the workers' burdens. The weaving rooms on lower floors are even louder. Hundreds of power looms clatter simultaneously, each weaving thread into cloth at speeds impossible by hand. A single worker tends multiple looms, racing between them to replace bobbins, fix breaks, and maintain output. The pace is relentless. Overseers patrol constantly, fining workers for mistakes, disciplining those who slow down. Children as young as 6 work here, crawling under operating machinery to collect loose cotton or tie broken threads. Their small size makes them perfect for this work, and their wages, perhaps 2 shillings a week, are essential to family survival. Accidents are frequent: crushed hands, amputated fingers, children caught in machinery and killed. There are no safety guards, no regulations, no compensation. A worker's life: survival in Cottonopolis. You're a cotton mill worker in 1852, a woman of 23 who's worked in mills since age 7. You live in a cramped cellar dwelling in Ancoats, Manchester's industrial district. The room is perhaps 12 feet square, housing yourself, your husband, also a mill worker, 3 children, and your husband's elderly mother. The ceiling is so low you can't stand upright. There's no window. Light comes through the door when it's open. The floor is dirt, constantly damp because the cellar is below the water table. Your rent is 3 shillings weekly, about 15% of the family's combined income. Your day begins at 5:15 a.m. You wake the children, dress them in the dark, give them bread if there's any left. You walk through streets thick with coal smoke to reach the mill by 5:45 a.m. Work begins precisely at 6 a.m. Arrive late and you're fined, lose a day's wages, or fired if it happens repeatedly. You work until 8 p.m. with 2 brief breaks, 30 minutes at noon for dinner, bread, and perhaps some cheese, and 15 minutes at 3 for tea. That's 14 hours standing at the machinery, maintaining constant attention despite exhaustion, hunger, and the oppressive noise and heat. Your children work in the same mill, the youngest crawling under looms you tend, the older operating simpler machines. Saturday, you work until 4 p.m., a short day, relatively speaking. Sunday is your only day off, though you're too exhausted to enjoy it. You spend Sunday washing clothes, cleaning your cellar, attending church if you have energy. There's no time for rest, no opportunity for leisure, no possibility of improving your situation. The wages are barely adequate. You earn about 8 shillings weekly, your husband 10, the children 2 shillings each. That's 22 shillings total, from which comes rent, food for 6 people, coal for heating and cooking, candles for light, soap for washing. There's nothing left over. A single illness, a reduction in hours, any unexpected expense means starvation or the workhouse. The city of contrasts, wealth and poverty. Manchester reveals capitalism's stark divisions. Walk through the city center and see elegant warehouses where cotton merchants conduct business worth millions. The Exchange, rebuilt in 1809 and expanded in 1849, is where global cotton trade is coordinated. Merchants in fine clothes negotiate contracts for cotton that will travel from America to Manchester to India, China, Australia. Fortunes are made in hours, lost just as quickly. The mill owners live in mansions in suburbs like Altrincham or Bowden, several miles from the industrial districts. They commute via private carriages or the railway, avoiding the slums entirely. Their homes have multiple servants, fine furniture, extensive grounds. They form a new aristocracy based on industrial wealth rather than landed estates, though they aspire to blend into traditional upper classes by buying country estates and sending sons to Oxford or Cambridge. Meanwhile, workers live in conditions horrifying even by Victorian standards. The slums of Ancoats, Little Ireland, and Angel Meadow are among the worst in Europe. Families crowd into single-room cellar dwellings that flood when it rains. Multiple families share outdoor privies that overflow into the streets. Clean water is scarce. Standpipes serve hundreds of families, and the water itself is often contaminated. Friedrich Engels, a German industrialist's son managing his father's Manchester cotton interests, is so shocked by what he sees that he writes The Condition of the Working Class in England in 1845, documenting the horrors and helping radicalize his friend Karl Marx. His descriptions of Manchester's slums influence socialist thought for generations, making Manchester symbolize industrial capitalism's brutality. The human cost: disease, death, and desperation. The statistics reveal Manchester's horror. Life expectancy in working-class districts averages just 25 to 30 years, lower than medieval Europe. Infant mortality exceeds 50%. More than half of children born in slum districts die before age 5. The causes are preventable: contaminated water spreading cholera and typhoid, overcrowded housing facilitating tuberculosis, malnutrition weakening immune systems, industrial accidents killing and maiming. The 1832 cholera epidemic kills thousands. The disease spreads through contaminated water, but authorities don't understand this yet. They blame miasma, or bad air. The epidemic particularly devastates working-class districts where families share water sources and live in overcrowded, unsanitary conditions. Child labor is standard and horrifying. Parliamentary investigations in the 1830s and 1840s document children working 16-hour days, beaten to stay awake, deformed by malnutrition and industrial accidents. Testimonies describe children tied to machinery to prevent them escaping, whipped for slowing down, killed by machines they're too exhausted to operate safely. The reforms come slowly. The Factory Act of 1833 prohibits children under 9 from working in textile mills and limits children aged 9 to 13 to 8 hours daily. The 1844 Act requires dangerous machinery to be fenced. The 1847 Act limits women and young persons to 10 hours daily. But enforcement is weak, exceptions numerous, and the fundamental brutality continues. Innovation and infrastructure, building the modern world. Yet Manchester also pioneers solutions to the problems it creates. The city builds the world's first industrial suburbs, experimenting with housing reforms. Philanthropic industrialists like the Gregg family create model villages like Style, proving that decent housing and working conditions are compatible with profit. The Manchester Ship Canal, completed in 1894, will make the city an inland port, though the planning begins decades earlier. The railway network radiating from Manchester becomes Britain's most extensive, connecting the industrial north to markets worldwide. The cooperative movement starts here, workers pooling resources to buy food and goods collectively, avoiding exploitative shop owners. The Rochdale pioneers, just outside Manchester, established principles of cooperative organization in 1844 that spread globally. Public health reforms emerge from Manchester's horrors. Edwin Chadwick's sanitary movement, documenting connections between filth and disease, leads to the Public Health Act of 1848. Manchester's experience proves that industrial cities need sewage systems, clean water supplies, and building regulations, lessons that save millions of lives globally. The legacy. How cotton built the modern world. Manchester's cotton industry declines in the 20th century, unable to compete with production in America, India, and Asia. The great mills close, their machinery sold or scrapped. But Manchester's legacy shapes our world profoundly. The industrial city itself, the concentration of production, the separation of work and home, the dependence on global supply chains, all pioneered in Manchester. Modern manufacturing, logistics, and urban planning build on foundations laid here. The labor movement responding to Manchester's brutality creates modern workers' rights. The Factory Acts, trade unions, and eventually the Labour Party emerge from Manchester's struggles, establishing principles of workplace safety, limited hours, and collective bargaining that spread worldwide. The city also teaches permanent lessons about capitalism's contradictions, its capacity for innovation alongside exploitation, its creation of wealth and poverty simultaneously, its need for regulation to prevent self-destruction. Conclusion: the price of progress. Stand in Manchester today and see a transformed city. The mills are converted to apartments and museums. The rivers run cleaner. The air is breathable. But walk through the old industrial districts and you can still see the bones of Cottonopolis, the warehouses, the railway viaducts, the remnants of a city that changed history. Manchester in the 1850s was the workshop of the world, the place where cotton became cloth and industrial capitalism became reality. It was also a city of unimaginable brutality, where children labored until death, where workers breathed poisoned air and drank contaminated water, where profit was extracted from human suffering on industrial scale. Both truths matter. Manchester created the material abundance that makes modern life possible: the cheap cloth, the efficient production, the technological innovation. It also demonstrated that unchecked industrialization destroys human lives and requires conscious political intervention to prevent catastrophe. Understanding Manchester means understanding how our world was made, through brilliant engineering and terrible exploitation, through human ingenuity and human suffering, through transformation so profound we're still processing its consequences. The Industrial Revolution wasn't abstract economic change. It was real people in real mills, breathing cotton dust, working impossible hours, dying young, but also creating the foundation of modern prosperity. This was Manchester Cottonopolis, the world's first industrial city where the future was forged at terrible human cost. If you enjoyed this journey through industrial history, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss where we're going next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the past.